sure.
Thanks very much for inviting us up.
That's all right.
Before we delve into the record collection, we cannot not pass on this. How long have you been up here now?
I think we bought it a couple of years ago, and it's taken us a couple of years to do it up. But it's the most beautiful scenery in Britain, I think. It's really lovely. And
as far as, because would it be fair to say that a few years ago you would have been a bit of a king of the All Back to Mine?
Oh, I was the king of the All Back to Mine.
Explain the theory of All Back to Mine first.
Well, it was like, I used to live in Rotherhithe, and I lived in this sort of like, it was like new sort of like city kind of flats, and then about 60 people would end up back in my swimming pool.
All Back to Mine is basically the excuse to have people back and show off your record.
Yeah, no, that's
and the thrill you get when you're playing records and people getting off on things they've never heard before.
Yeah.
So Alan, let's start at the beginning of your record, or your love affair with music, really.
Yeah.
First record ever bought?
Get It On, T-Rex, when I was about 10 and 11 years old.
As a first record for a 10-year-old, I've got to pull you up. That's a little bit too cool, isn't it?
Well, it was by complete fluke, really, to be honest. It was first record I ever bought was Get It On, T-Rex. Second record I ever bought was Hey Girl Don't Bother Me by Tams, and then the third record was Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep by Middle of the Road. So I was a true 10-year-old.
Let's go and listen to Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep. It's good to see vinyl still figuring in your life.
Yeah, no, it's a few records.
Going back to the Boland thing, because he really was the first British pop star in a long, long time.
Now, in retrospect, he was a joke at the time, which is kind of amazing now because he's such an icon. But I mean, you know, the critics thought that T-Rex were like steps or something like that. Do you know what I mean? You know, they thought they were like a joke, and it just goes to show you really, you know. Today's trash is tomorrow's art, really.
You must have been aware of there was a lot of strange things going on. A lot of people turning up on Top of the Pops, looking in the right state.
But I think T-Rex was just like this huge band that had about 4 number ones in a row. You know, they were like a phenomenon band. But you know, I remember like you know, I became totally obsessed after Ziggy Stardust came out with Bowie. You know, and I went through the whole phase of like wanting to be David Bowie, except you know, I mean, I had curly red hair, not like straight. I remember getting my old man telling me off because he was going, oh, you know, I don't want you to grow up a poof. You know, that's what he used to say to me. But he did that with punk, you know, when I get any punk, and he said, you know, I don't want you dressing in combat fatigues and stuff like that. You know.
What was the impact to you
of punk?
Of punk.
I mean, punk irreversibly changed my life. Do you know what I mean? You know, because I was always an outsider at school. I wasn't bullied. I wasn't a bully. I was invisible. Do you know what I mean? I was the invisible kid. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't great at football. I wasn't great at fighting. I wasn't great at pulling women. I was just invisible.
You touched on it just slightly earlier. What was your dad's take on his son, the punk?
Well, his take on his son, the punk, was pretty much like his take on his son, you know, the David Bowie fan, which is one time he sat down with me and said, you know, I really don't want you to sort of like, you know, like this music. You know, I've been reading in the Evening Times that girls go like dressed in plastic bags, which, of course, to a virgin of like 16 years old, you know, well, this to me sounded like the greatest fun you could possibly have. If you couldn't have sex with women in plastic bags, you could go and have a look, at least have a look at them, you know.
Out of all the Pistols records, then, which would you say is your favourite then?
Did You Know Wrong?
Which is not the most obvious track.
B-side of God Save the Queen.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, what I think people forget in the 90s is like, we were angry when we were kids. Kids today, they're not angry. But you got to understand, I mean, it was like God Save the Queen with a writing across the Queen's face and Sex Pistols and the Jubilee year. And it was absolute, totally irreverence. I just think Rotten was just he was just a great poet, to be honest, do you know what I mean? You know, and he had a totally alternative way of looking at life, do you know what I mean? You know, and it was straight off a Finsbury Park council estate.
Was that touching you from where you were?
To be honest, only because, you know, it had some of the same hatreds that I had, you know, going on. Which were like, you know, the Conservative Party, the royal family, do you know what I mean? You know, pretty standard working class dislikes. Johnny Rotten just summed up a time, do you know what I mean, you know?
Yeah. The doors were kicked down with punk, but then there was something else that was following probably a couple of years later, wasn't it?
I mean, post-punk is the way we can describe it, and that's when, I suppose other people would call it indie music at the beginning of the indie scene or whatever, right? But the band that shone out for me, and still to this day is one of the greatest bands there's ever been, is Joy Division.
Right. And
they sort of changed my life, really. But I suppose the defining moment for me with Joy Division is probably Love Will Tear Us Apart, because it's just, you know, it's just Ian Curtis. I mean, he was like a tragic soul, but again, like a great artist.
Did it make an impression upon you, the death of Ian Curtis?
I mean, to be honest, not so much at the time, more afterwards when I understood about people with problems and things getting on top of them. The death that really, truly did affect me, the only rock star death that's really absolutely murdered me, really, was Kurt Cobain in '94, to be honest. And I understood, because I'd got older, you know, how fragile, you know, like people can be, you know, and like how, you know, he just got so lost, you know, with the drugs and, you know, with his depression, that he couldn't go on. And that one really, for about 3 months, that really did affect me. Yeah, truly, yeah.
At this time, was creation looming?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to sort of like be in music and put out records by groups that I liked.
Right.
And then I had got into this band, The Creation.
Right.
And the thing was, it was like,
this is a band from way back. This is like 66,
the first thing I ever knew about this band was they were on the cover at all Mod Cons.
There's almost a take on it that The Creation could almost be like a British Velvet Underground. They had that feeling. There was an art school background for starters. They were one of the first, weren't they?
And they were pop art. They were mods. You know, they were like, you know, they had great tunes. They never happened in Britain, they happened in Germany.
Weiter gehen mit The Creations und wir haben es schon versprochen, die Nummer heißt Making Time. People to believe
If the creation were the inspiration, certainly the inspiration behind the name of the label, what was the first record that made you go, hang on a minute, this is now a little bit serious?
Probably Loveless, My Bloody Valentine. It was the most painful record I've ever had to go through, like, you know, making me an artist. I mean, I never heard anything for like 2 years. It nearly bankrupted me. You know, it gave both me and Kevin Shields some way towards both having nervous breakdowns. I'd mortgaged my house to finish the record. You know, I wasn't like, you know, guilt-free. You know, I was a drug addict. I was a nightmare to deal with as well. You know, he was a nightmare. We were both being nightmares.
Make the perfect recording for your perfect place. Sony mini disc.
Hold up, lads. I've got an idea.
Some irritations are easier to get rid of. New Caniston Once. One simple application quickly cools and then clears thrush. Once is enough.
Head Music, the #1 album from Suede. Head Music from Suede, out now.
Seen anything like that?
No, never.
Alpha 156 from £18,000.
I'm a sensual animal, eat you like a cannibal, cram full of energy. I'm inflammable, yeah. I finish my beer, so come here.
Lasses these days, they're only after one thing.
OK, Acid House was very obviously a major moment in your life.
As big as punk.
Yeah?
Yeah.
As important?
As important. And
do you think
probably had more effect on me.
Yeah.
You know, in a long-term way, actually.
Because at the time there was a lot of people who had been going to clubs and they were claiming that it was only for white people. Acid House was based on music for white blokes who can't dance.
Probably was, to be honest, because I definitely couldn't dance.
But did you at this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, on 4Es, most people think they can dance, do you know what I mean? If you can imagine a bit of plywood dancing, you know.
OK, choosing one record out of your collection.
But the record that really summed it up was, like, for me, was Voodoo Ray, a guy called Gerald. It was just a sort of punk rock acid house record, you know. One of the most defining moments at Acid House was, I remember, I moved to Manchester for the music and for the drugs, right? And I said, let's go to the Hacienda. And we went in, and there was 2,000 people on a Friday night, all over the club, in the actual sort of like landings and the sort of little alleyways, dancing, punching the air. The entire club was absolutely rocking. And on stage, there was 600 people on the Hacienda stage, with Sean Ryder at the front in a gold lamy shirt, punching the air, absolutely profusely sweating. And I just went, this is genius. This is absolute genius. And I moved to Manchester.
Now, because very obviously, very publicly, you don't deal with that sort of lifestyle again. That's
well, I do actually have to deal with the lifestyle.
You have to deal with it.
Most of my bands live it, but
right.
but I don't.
But that's
I
behind you.
Those
years are definitely behind. So, how bad did it get?
It depends what you call bad. I mean, it was incredible.
Well,
good
you were
fun.
trying to run a record company at the same time.
It was when it was ecstasy, it was genius, and then it suddenly stopped being ecstasy, and it was speed, probably cut with a little bit of smack, and it was like not a good place to be. So you ended up doing loads of Charlie, and for somebody that ended up kind of being addicted to cocaine, I look back and go, what a wanker. But at the end of the day, you know, I actually never liked this stuff, but I did loads of it, you know. You know, I eventually realised I had to stop doing it, you know.
But were you venturing into clubs for the first time with the Acid House thing, or had disco had no impact on you as a kid?
Disco had no impact.
Because Glasgow did have quite a strong soul boy roots, didn't they, in the late 70s?
Yeah. I was never a soul boy. I mean, loads of records you wouldn't think I was into, like Mama used to say, Junior, Genius, Genius record, you know.
And Chic?
One of the greatest bands that's ever been. Obsessed by them, you know what I mean? You know? Absolutely obsessed.
Cannot fail to move when you hear that record. But there are other records that have come out of that period of American culture that have actually had something to say.
The last 5 or 6 years, my personal listening taste has been sort of Marvin, Stevie Wonder, Curtis Mayfield.
Give us your Curtis selection then.
Well, it's a little known one. Make Me Believe in You.
And what qualities about this song? Because you're right, it's not, you know, you could go for the full-on Move On Up anthem.
Totally.
You could throw in a million of them.
I think the strings and just, you know, the soulfulness and just the trust that he's trying to sort of like express, you know, in the song. But it's just, more than anything, man, it's the beats and the string.
without a mouth for the S. You just remember I'm hip to the lip. Before you ask any questions, I ain't for no hard rapping, so you can stop with your hot lips slapping. It's gonna be downright shame if I find that you're playing in a game. Make me believe in you. Show me your love can be true. Do anything you want me to do. Make me believe in you. Keep it filled with all.
Right, before we get into the last record, Alan, we've just been listening to Curtis Mayfield, and there's a man who stood alone, really, in the world that was trying to bang him down, and he was a maverick as far as that was concerned. And I know that you're involved with one of the great British mavericks, which is Kevin Rowland.
Maybe the greatest.
Yeah?
Yeah. One of the reasons that I started the label probably was Dex's. If one of them was The Jam, the other one was Dex's Midnight Runners. And you know, me and Kevin Rowland had been orbiting each other for about 4 or 5 years. And then I'd sobered up, Kevin had sobered up, and we had a meeting, and he came into the office, and you know, he arrived as like King Henry VIII, really. And you know, but you got to remember it's Kevin Rowland.
So you've just released the announcement of Kevin back on the front cover of this Dazed and Confused, and boy is he back.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your take on it when you first got that?
Well, it was pretty interesting because it's like he said he'd always said, oh, you know, like, you know, music's going to be 50% of it. No. He's always said that the clothes are as important as the music.
Yeah.
So I thought I was getting King Henry VIII. So I knew it was going to be weird, right? I knew it was going to be off the wall. I didn't think I was going to get Kevin dressed up, you know, in stockings, right?
But you were also a party to the last sort of, I mean, it didn't cause quite a stir, I don't think, but on the last Dexys album, which you've actually reissued.
Yeah, it's probably the best Dexys album. But you know, no, he's a major league artist.
Let's listen to one of those tracks. Which one?
It'd have to be What You Like. The plans for Kevin Rowland and Dexys, it is still Dexys, is it? No, it's going to be Kevin Rowland.
Right, it's a solo.
And initially it was going to be Kevin Rowland, and then it was going to be a Dexys album, but halfway through making this record, you know, we knew that, you know, Dexys is over, and it's about Kevin Rowland.
Right. And this is not original songs that he's doing, right?
Well, this is the songs that, throughout his life, it's a bit like this programme, really. It's a bit the songs that document, kind of like, that meant things to him at certain points. Do you know what I mean?
Well, just before I leave, Alan, I've just got to say thanks very much for your All Back to Mine. And I'm sure it's a little bit different to the ones that you were involved in the past.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's, well, just you get any different headspace, I suppose. You know, I mean, I suppose it's all back to mine to like milk the cows rather than like all back to mine.
Well, you're not going to get any complaints from neighbours around here, are you?
Get in the jacuzzi and do the channel, I suppose.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot.
All
Cheers,
right,
I
Sean,
appreciate
see you
that.
later,
All right, take care.
You know, the newly wealthy peasants, you know, with the home bars, you know, the high fries and all that stuff. Yeah. You know how to use words like
Self-conscious egomaniacs? Surely not. Rock and Roll Tales is next.
As well, you know, your music was overshadowed by your hat. But if I hadn't had the hat, maybe people wouldn't have listened to the music.
Then fresh, fly and funky with flavour at 12:25. For music, it's loud and it's in your face.
How are things?
Had a real good week.
Tony Soprano is a family man trying to do his best.
You may be having a family problem that I can help you with. Your father will put a bullet in my head.
But he's experiencing the frustrations of a life of crime.
You think everybody's lying to you while you're pulling scams on them. This thing isn't working out the way we hoped. I'm coming down.
And the Romans? Where are they now?
You're looking at them.
Inventive and demented drama with The Sopranos continues Thursday at 10 on 4.